Welcome to our deep dive into the amazing astronomical events happening in 2025. If you love stargazing, get ready for a year packed with can't-miss sights.
Yeah, what really sets 2025 apart is that it marks the peak of the sun's 11-year solar cycle. So, imagine the sun as this giant ball of fiery gas with its own kind of rhythm. Every 11 years, its activity really ramps up.
Okay.
And this means more sunspots, solar flares, and these things called coronal mass ejections.
Coronal mass.
Ejections. Basically, these eruptions release charged particles that interact with Earth's magnetic field. This causes what we call geomagnetic storms.
So instead of just sunspots, we get incredible light shows here on Earth. All right, you've got my attention.
Yeah, exactly. These storms create the most vibrant and frequent auroras, especially in higher latitude regions. Think like Alaska, Iceland, northern Scandinavia, like those shimmering curtains of green, purple, and red dancing across the night sky.
Oh, wow, that's breathtaking. Those places must be even more magical during solar maximum. But let's talk about what we can see, from our own backyards. We've got meteor showers, eclipses, even a planet parade on the calendar. Where should we begin?
Well, let's start with a bang. The year kicks off with the Quadrantid meteor shower, peaking on January 3rd and 4th. What's cool about this shower is that it can produce a truly spectacular show with up to 200 meteors per hour if you're under dark skies.
Wow, 200 meteors an hour. Is there a reason why the quadrantids are so prolific?
Well, it comes down to the density and the composition of the debris stream that Earth is passing through. And for the Quadrantids, this stream is thought to be pretty old and dense, so that means more particles colliding with our atmosphere, creating those meteors.
Fascinating. It's amazing how these tiny particles, little remnants from ancient comets and asteroids, can create such an incredible spectacle. Speaking of ancient remnants, I heard that Mars makes a grand appearance this month as well.
Right. Not only does Mars reach opposition on January 15th, meaning it's directly opposite the sun from our perspective, but it's also occulted by the full moon just a few days before on January 13th and 14th.
Okay, hold on. What does occulted mean exactly?
Oh, an occultation is when one celestial object passes in front of another from our viewpoint here on Earth. So picture the moon, full and bright, moving across the sky, and then suddenly Mars disappears behind it for a bit.
I see.
This alignment gives us a really unique chance to see how these celestial mechanics play out. For the exact viewing times for your location, I'd recommend checking out inthesky.org.
Great, I'll definitely mark that down. But let's go back to Mars at opposition for a second. Why is that event so special for stargazers?
Well, during opposition, Mars is completely illuminated by the sun, just like a full moon, making it super bright in our night sky. It's like the sun is shining a giant spotlight on Mars, making it stand out. And since Mars is closer to Earth during this time, it appears larger and brighter than usual, giving us a better chance to observe its details through a telescope.
Oh, cool. So if you want to try to catch a glimpse of the Martian polar ice caps, or maybe even a hint of its surface, opposition is prime time.
Exactly.
Wow. So we have the chance to see lunar occultation of Mars, and then just a few days later, Mars at opposition. January is already packed for skywatchers. What else can we look forward to?
How about a planetary get-together? On January 25th, we have a planet parade gracing the evening sky. Venus, Saturn, Jupiter, and Mars will all be visible with the naked eye, forming a beautiful line.
That sounds incredible. But is this, a real alignment of planets? Or is it more of an optical illusion from where we are?
Yeah, it's mostly an illusion from our perspective. It's like we're catching a glimpse of these planets as they're moving along their own separate paths around the sun. And from our viewpoint, they happen to appear clustered together along what we call the ecliptic, which is, the apparent path of the sun across the sky.
So it's sort of a cosmic coincidence, this beautiful arrangement of planets.
Precisely. And what makes this parade even more special is that it's one of the last chances to catch Saturn before it moves to the pre-dawn sky. Also, if you have a telescope, Neptune will be near Venus and Uranus will be close to Jupiter, so you might be able to spot those two distant planets as well.
Wow, that's a once-in-a-lifetime stargazing opportunity.
Yeah.
I'm definitely marking my calendar for that one. So we've got meteor showers, an occultation, Mars at opposition, and now a planet parade. January is shaping up to be a real celestial feast, but before we move on to the rest of the year, why are all these events concentrated in January?
That's a great question. It's important to remember that the timing of these events is determined by complicated orbital mechanics, cycles that span years, decades, even centuries. It just so happens that 2025 begins with a bang, astronomically speaking.
So it's like the universe is kicking off the year with a grand celestial celebration, inviting us to look up and marvel at his wonders.
Exactly. And this is just the start. We have an entire year of amazing skywatching events ahead.
All right, then let's jump into the rest of this cosmic calendar.
So now that we've explored the celestial highlights of January, let's move on to February. It may not be as jam-packed as January, but February brings its own gem, Venus at its brightest.
Yeah, I've heard that Venus is going to put on a show this month. What makes February so special for Venus watching?
Well, on February 19th, Venus reaches peak brilliance, shining at a magnitude of Magna 4.5. That's incredibly bright, making it the brightest object in the night sky after the moon, even though it'll appear as a slim crescent.
Wow, that's amazing. But why does Venus appear so much brighter at this time?
It's a combination of factors. First, Venus has this highly reflective cloud cover that bounces a lot of sunlight back towards Earth. Imagine it like a giant mirror in space. Second, Venus is actually getting closer to Earth in its orbit around the sun.
So it's like Venus is racing toward us, shining its spotlight brighter and brighter as it gets closer.
You got it. That close approach, combined with its reflective clouds, makes Venus absolutely dazzling. It's a sight to behold, especially against the backdrop of twilight.
Okay, so mark your calendars for February 19th to catch Venus at its most dazzling. Now let's move on to March. I hear this month is a real treat for eclipse enthusiasts.
You're right. March brings us not one, but two eclipses. A total lunar eclipse on March 13th and 14th, and partial solar eclipses on March 29th and September 21st.
2 eclipses in 1 month. That's a celestial double feature.
Yeah.
Let's start with the lunar eclipse. What makes this one special?
Well, first off, the moon will be completely covered by Earth's shadow during totality, taking on that reddish hue, often called a blood moon. And the timing of this eclipse is perfect for North American viewers, with totality occurring in the middle of the night.
So no need to set an early alarm or stay up late for this one.
Exactly. It's a prime time eclipse. But what makes this eclipse even more special is the potential for aurora displays at the same time.
Wait, we could see auroras during a lunar eclipse? How is that possible?
Remember, we're at the peak of the solar cycle. That means heightened solar activity, leading to more frequent and intense geomagnetic storms. And these storms tend to be even stronger around the equinoxes.
And the spring equinox is just a few days after the lunar eclipse. So there's a chance that these two celestial events could happen together. That would be incredible.
Exactly. Picture the moon bathed in a reddish glow while shimmering curtains of green and purple dance across the sky. It would be a celestial convergence unlike any other.
That's something I wouldn't want to miss. Now, what about those partial solar eclipses? What can we expect from them?
The first one, on March 29th, offers a unique spectacle for those in northeastern North America. A crescent sunrise. Picture the sun rising above the horizon, partially obscured by the moon, creating a crescent shape. It's a rare and stunning sight. Europe will also witness this eclipse, but it'll be mid-morning for them.
So depending on where you are, you'll get either a crescent sunrise or a crescent sun in the morning sky. Pretty cool. What about the September eclipse?
The September 21st eclipse will be visible from New Zealand and parts of Antarctica, so a glimpse of the sun partially covered by the moon for those in the southern hemisphere.
It seems like no matter where you are on Earth in 2025, you have a chance to see an eclipse. But eclipses aren't the only things happening in March. We also have the start of prime aurora viewing season around the equinox.
Right. The equinoxes, both spring and fall, are known for increased geomagnetic activity. This means more frequent and intense aurora displays. So if you're chasing the northern lights, the periods around March 20th and September 22nd are your best bets.
Okay, so we've got a total lunar eclipse potentially coinciding with auroras, 2 partial solar eclipses, and the start of prime aurora viewing season. March is shaping up to be an exciting month, but let's not forget about the rest of the year. We still have meteor showers and planetary alignments to talk about.
Absolutely. Let's dive into those next.
Bring on the cosmic fireworks.
First up, let's talk meteor showers. We've already discussed the Quadrantids in January, but 2025 has several more throughout the year. In April, we have the Lyrids peaking on the 21st and 22nd.
Oh yes, the Lyrids. I've heard they're known for producing some pretty impressive fireballs.
You're right. Fireballs are exceptionally bright meteors that can leave these persistent trails across the sky. They're caused by larger particles of comet debris entering and burning up in the atmosphere.
So it's like a supersized meteor. Sounds amazing. What are the viewing conditions like for the Lyrids this year?
Well, with a moonless sky during the peak, viewing conditions should be great. Just find a dark location away from city lights, lie back, and enjoy.
I'll be keeping an eye out for those fireballs for sure. What other meteor showers are coming up?
In early May, we have the Eta Aquariids, peaking on the 6th and 7th. These meteors are associated with Halley's Comet.
Hold on, Halley's Comet, the one that only comes by Earth every 76 years. How can we see meteors from it if the comet is so far away?
Good question. As comets orbit the sun, they leave behind a trail of dust and debris. When Earth passes through this stream, those tiny particles collide with our atmosphere, creating those streaks of light we call meteors.
So it's like Earth is sweeping up the remnants of Halley's Comet's journey through space.
Precisely. The southern hemisphere gets the best view of the Eta Aquariids, but those of us in the northern hemisphere can still catch a good show, especially in the hours before dawn.
Good to know. I'll be setting my alarm to see if I can catch a glimpse. Okay, we've got the Lyrids in April and the Eta Aquariids in May. Any other meteor showers to mark on our calendars?
In October, we have the Draconids peaking on the 8th and 9th. They're unique because they peak after sunset, so it's an early evening show. They're not usually as prolific as other showers, but they're known for occasional outbursts, so you never know.
So it's a bit of a wild card meteor shower. That makes it even more exciting.
Exactly. And finally, in November, we have the Leonids, peaking on the 17th and 18th. The Leonids are famous for their periodic meteor storms, but this year we're expecting a more modest display of about 15 meteors per hour. But with a slim crescent moon those nights, viewing conditions will be great.
Even though it's not a storm year for the Leonids, it still sounds like a fun event. But meteors aren't the only things gracing the night sky this year. Didn't you mention a planetary meetup earlier?
Yes. Mark August 12th on your calendars for a spectacular pairing of Venus and Jupiter in the pre-dawn sky.
Venus and Jupiter, huh? That's a celestial power couple I would mind seeing. How close will they appear?
They'll be just 1 degree apart, almost touching from our viewpoint. And since they're the 2 brightest planets in our sky, their combined brilliance will be quite a sight. Imagine a dazzling duo rising before the sun.
It sounds incredible, and the perfect reason to set an early alarm. Okay, so we've got meteors galore and a planetary rendezvous. What else does 2025 have for us?
Well, September brings us Saturn at opposition on the 21st. While its rings will be edge-on this year, there's still a sight to see through a telescope.
Even edge-on, Saturn's rings are one of the most iconic sights in our solar system. The first time I saw them through a telescope, it was like looking at a miniature model of the cosmos.
I know what you mean. There's something undeniably awe-inspiring about seeing those rings with your own eyes.
Well said. And speaking of breathtaking sights, we can't forget about November and the biggest supermoon of the year.
Right. On November 5th, the moon will be at its closest point to Earth since 2019. So we'll get a supersized, super bright full moon. It's an event that always gets people excited, and rightfully so. It's visually stunning, especially when the moon is rising.
I can picture it, a giant luminous orb coming up over the horizon. Talk about a photo opportunity.
Truly a sight to behold. What makes a supermoon even more captivating is that it's not just about size, it's about brightness too. A supermoon can appear up to 30% brighter than a regular full moon.
So it's not just a bigger moon, it's like someone turned up the brightness on the night sky.
Exactly. And the best part is, you don't need special equipment to enjoy it. Just step outside, find a clear view, and be amazed.
I'll be marking that one on my calendar for sure. Okay, so we've covered meteor showers, planetary conjunctions, oppositions, eclipses, aurora viewing, and a supermoon. Anything else we've missed?
I think we've covered the celestial highlights for 2025. From meteor showers to eclipses to a supermoon, there's something for everyone in the night sky this year.
You're right. It's going to be an amazing year for stargazing. But before we finish our deep dive into this cosmic calendar, let's go back to that total lunar eclipse in March. That one deserves a little more attention, especially given the possibility of those auroras.
I agree. Let's dig into the details of that eclipse and why it's so special. All right, let's rewind to March and that total lunar eclipse on the 13th and 14th.
Yeah, this one stood out to me because of that blood moon effect. What exactly causes the moon to turn red during a lunar eclipse?
It all comes down to how sunlight interacts with Earth's atmosphere. You see, as the moon moves through Earth's shadow, the only sunlight that can reach it is filtered through our atmosphere. And the shorter wavelengths of light, like blue and green, get scattered away. But the longer wavelengths, like red and orange, get bent toward the moon.
So it's like a giant sunset being projected onto the moon.
Exactly. It's the same reason sunsets look red here on Earth. Those longer wavelengths create that warm, reddish glow on the moon during totality.
That's so cool. And you mentioned that this eclipse might coincide with Aurora displays.
Yeah.
What are the chances we'll actually get to see both?
Well, it's tough to predict auroras with 100% certainty. It all depends on, the strength and direction of those charged particles from the sun hitting our magnetic field. But since this eclipse is close to the spring equinox, a time when geomagnetic activity is usually higher, the chances of seeing auroras are definitely better.
So it's kind of like a celestial lottery, but with the odds in our favor.
Yeah, exactly. And even if there aren't any bright auroras, a total lunar eclipse is still an incredible sight on its own. Seeing the moon slowly get darker and then turn that reddish color is a really awe-inspiring experience.
I bet. It really highlights the intricate dance between the Earth, Moon, and Sun. And the fact that this lunar eclipse is so easy to see in North America makes it even more special.
Definitely. Plus, you don't need any special equipment to enjoy a lunar eclipse. Just find a spot with a clear view of the sky, maybe grab a blanket and something warm to drink, and settle in.
This has been such a great look at all the amazing events we have to look forward to in 2025. From meteor showers and eclipses to planetary alignments and a supermoon, it's going to be an awesome year for stargazing. Anything else you'd like to add?
Just a reminder to check out resources like inthesky.org for specific viewing times and locations for all these events in your area. They offer personalized stargazing guides so you can make the most of these opportunities.
That's great advice. And remember to share your excitement for these events with friends and family. Encourage everyone to look up at the night sky and appreciate the beauty and wonder of our universe. If you enjoyed our deep dive into the 2025 Cosmic Calendar, please subscribe to our channel and leave a comment telling us which event you're most excited for. Until next time, keep looking up.